Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's worked out pretty well because I did fluff up the hello at the beginning. But thank you very much for introducing me. So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this session on digital tools with a real focus on Microsoft Project for the Web, Power Apps, and Power BI. And before we get into this, so my name, obviously, it's Baz, and I'm the Commercial Director at Wellington. We are a Microsoft Gold certified PPM partner. I'm also a virtual team member at Microsoft UK and Western Europe. In a past life, I've also been a BBC radio presenter, I've been a film extra, I've been a web developer, but most importantly, I've also actually been part of a PMO. So I know the pain points that arise, I know what the challenges are that people within a PMO or the project professional generally will encounter. So really by demonstrating some of the tools that I am today, I can show you how you can actually work smarter and obviously make your lives a bit easier as well. So today's presentation, a very quick introduction to Wellington, explaining who we are. I'm then obviously going to talk about Microsoft PPM. I'll provide a very high level overview before moving into a live demonstration. So if anything can go wrong, the chances are that it probably will. And then I can outline next steps if you wanted to get more information or even get hands-on. So Wellington, well, we have been around since 2001. We're based in Windsor. We've also got an office in Ireland and in Spain as well. And as a company, we offer a really wide variety of services that span consultancy, technology and training with a real focus on project and work management. We are, as I mentioned earlier, a Microsoft Gold certified PPM partner. We're also an APM accredited training provider as well. And we also do deliver P3M3 accredited consulting engagements, so maturity assessments. And importantly, for anyone that might be joining from a public sector organization, we are also a Crown Commercial Service G Cloud approved supplier. So that's us. We do also run the annual State of Project Management report. We also run a very large annual event called Future PMO, which takes place in London. And this year's event is actually taking place this week on Thursday in London with the theme of Formula One. So that's an event that you can go and check out. If you do want more details on any of our services or anything else, just go to wellington.co.uk. Right. So the main event for today, we're going to be talking about Microsoft PPM, or really the PPM platform that Microsoft provides. And really, if you guys are using Office 365 already, then some of these solutions you might already have come across. So firstly, we have Microsoft Planner. So Planner is a very simple Kanban board-based solution to create lightweight projects. It's a task management solution. Pardon me. And for those teams that need I guess the modern interface of Planner, but with a bit more power behind it, we do have the recently released Project for the Web, which is really the focus for today. And for organizations that are making really heavy use of Microsoft Project Desktop, we do have the enterprise extension, which is Microsoft Project Online, which has been available now since 2013. So it's quite a mature solution. But what I would say is for organizations or teams that are looking for a modern solution that fits in nicely with the current day Microsoft ecosystem that's available, and you want integration with things like Microsoft Teams, then rather than looking at something like Project Online, you probably do want to look at Project for the Web or any other PPM system that's really been built using the Microsoft Power Platform. And before I get into the demo, if we think about the core functionality that Project for the Web itself provides, it's highlighted on the screen with the green areas. So with Project for the Web, you can go in, you can build projects, you can add tasks. But if you want to capture related information against your project, so this could be RAID logs, you want to do things like prioritization, you want to group things into portfolios and programs, then it's not something you can do natively within Project for the Web. For that, we would be using Microsoft Power Apps. And Power Apps is really an app building solution from Microsoft. The best way to think of it probably is as a bit of a Lego set that Microsoft provide for you to extend some of their standard offerings. And that's exactly what I'll be demonstrating today. So we'll be looking at Project for the Web that's been extended using the Wellington Accelerator Plus app, which is designed really very much for the PMO. So that's what I'll be demonstrating, and that does bring me on to the demo. So in terms of a demonstration, I'm going to keep it pretty light, bearing in mind the time constraints that we have. So I'll keep it pretty light. I'll give you a very high level overview of Project for the Web. I'll give you an example of how it can be extended using Power Apps. And I know that the previous presentation was talking very much about data. I'm also going to show you how you can get better clarity around the data that's being generated through the tool through Microsoft Power BI, which is an enterprise reporting solution from Microsoft. So that is, in a nutshell, what I'll be presenting. So for this part, I'm going to go in now. I'm just going to stop my video for a second to keep the focus very much on the screen that I'm sharing. Again, feel free to type questions in. I can answer questions at the end if we have time. I will also join the Q&A session that's going to be taking place later on this afternoon as well. But for now, let's get into this. So this is the homepage to Microsoft 365. And here on the homepage, I can already see a bunch of projects that I'm involved in. But what we are going to do from here is actually go straight into project. And when you do that, you're taken to a screen called Project Home. And Project Home is really presenting me as an end user with a aggregated view of all of the projects that I'm involved in. In this specific environment, I can see projects that are originating in Project for the Web. I can also see projects that are, despite what the title says there, these are projects originating in Project Online. So again, it's an aggregated view for the end user, and I can also then go in, tag certain projects as my favorites, if there is such a thing, and I see those pinned along the top. So this demo I'm going to present in a couple of parts. So first of all, I'll go in and show you the basic scheduling interface for Project for the Web, which is the new project. So if you think about Microsoft Project on the desktop, this is the modern day equivalent, and it's quite different to what you get on the desktop application. So first of all, you'll notice that it looks very basic, and it is compared to what you get on the desktop. So there's no cluttered ribbon toolbar. There's not a multitude of options to choose from. We can get straight into it. It's very intuitive. And the original target audience from Microsoft for this solution were actually accidental project managers. So it has been designed to be very, very user-friendly. So let's get into this. We'll give this project a title. We'll call this one the APM demo. I'm going to close out of that. I'm then going to go in and start creating some tasks. So we have setup. Let's go for task 1, task 2, task 3, and then we'll say setup complete. And then actually let's go in and add in another task. So we'll call this one design, and we'll call this one task 4, task 5, and then we'll say design complete. So we've started adding in tasks, and by the way, by the end of the year, Microsoft are going to be making it possible for you to base projects based upon predefined templates. So these would be templates that you would define yourselves and upload as templates that people would then be able to use to start their project. So again, this is a solution that's growing at a very rapid pace, and Microsoft are planning quite a few enhancements over the next, not even the next quarter, the next year or so. There's a whole wave of additional functionality that's coming. But going back to this, I've created some basic tasks. I've created some simple hierarchy. So we've got summary tasks, subtasks, and then I've got this very basic looking view here. Let's enrich it slightly. So let's go in, add some additional columns. And you will see that as a default, there are some standard options available. So let's go in and drop in effort. We'll drop in effort completed. We'll also drop in effort remaining. And why don't we drop in a custom field? We'll make this a choice field, and we'll call this one status. And we're going to put in some choices. So first one is green. Then we'll go in and drop in amber. Whoops, what's going on? Has this frozen? Okay, there we go. So let's go in and try that again. Amber is being selected. No, it's not. What is going on? See, I told you that it was going to be a live demo, and if anything could go wrong, it probably would. Well, I would normally choose red, amber, and green, and for some reason it doesn't want to do that. So we'll just type in amber, and we're going to type in red. And against this one, we'll also type in on track. And I think you get the idea of what I was going to do there. So let's create that. And that's a little choice field that we've just added on. But for now, let's go in and start assigning work to individuals. So in order to do this, because this is part of Office 365, all I need to do is start typing in the first few letters of a person's name. So there's Adele, not the singer. This is somebody else. This is Adele Vance. I think she's a developer from memory. But as soon as I've done that, it asks if I want to now add this project to a group. So for those of you that are using Microsoft Teams, you'll be familiar with the process, hopefully, of going in, creating a team, adding members to the team, and then collaborating on various things. Could be files, spreadsheets, whatever it might be. But this is then linked into that shared space. So we'll add this to a group. I'm going to add this to an existing group. Let's add it to the project demo. Add and assign. So as soon as I've done that, you can see Adele's picture, and you also get to see other members of that existing group. So I can still go in, add brand new members in, but at least now I've got a pre-built team. So when I want to assign work to other people, all I do is click on the person icon, and straight away, those individuals are assigned. And of course, you can also assign multiple people against these tasks. You can also show people things like task notifications is something that individuals already receive. The ability for people to be able to go in and view all of their assignments within Project for the Web is another feature that's coming by the end of the year. So durations, we're going to start typing in some durations. So we'll say 5 days for this, 6 days for that, 7 days for this. This is a milestone. So that's 0 days. And then we'll say 5 days again and 6 days again there as well. You'll see that it's automatically calculating things like effort, but I can go in and separate the two things out. So even though I've assigned somebody 5 days to work on something, I might turn around and say, well, there's only, 7.5 or 8 hours of work to do across those 5 days. So you know that it's not a full-time activity. Now, this is the grid view that we've been playing with so far, and this is one of many different views. So we've also got access to the board view as well. And for those of you that are maybe familiar with Microsoft Planner, this is essentially the same thing. So this is pretty much the identical view. We've got a bunch of cards. We've got some buckets along the top. I can add custom buckets in, which I won't do. But what I will do is show you some of the other standard views. So we have assigned to. So here I can see who the work's been assigned to there. And I might turn around now and say, actually, I want Adele to work on task number 2 as well, rather than Alex. So I can assign and reallocate work in that way. If we get to progress, you will see that we've now got 3 predefined buckets. We've got not started, in progress, and completed. And to update the status, all I do is click, drag, and drop. And as soon as I do that, you will see that the status does update in terms of percentage complete. I can also click down into the cards and open up this information window. So here I can type in notes against individual tasks. And pretty soon what's coming is the ability to track ongoing conversations on individual tasks. So that means that the PMs and the team members can have ongoing dialogue around the work at hand, and you can build up that audit trail. Something else that's coming is the ability to view the critical path in the browser, the ability to baseline. So these are features that are coming within the next month or so. But looking back at this, there are obviously cells that I can update, which is quite handy. I can also access my custom fields here as well if I want to. But importantly, I can also add things like dependencies. I can also add attachments as well. And this is quite nice because I can upload something from my local drive. I could always link to a file that sits within Teams, or I can link to something external as well. Other functionality that's coming in the next month or so is the ability to create task level checklists. So you'll be able to define those and tick those off as you progress through. And things like labeling are coming as well. So you can actually tag tasks with different colored labels with different meanings attached to them. So a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. Really, that was the board view. What I'm going to do is switch over now to the timeline view. And the timeline for me is probably my favorite because it enables me to do stuff like this. So all I do in order to link tasks is click, drag, and drop. which is what I've done there. And I'm going to do the same thing here, but I can turn around and say, well, actually, this task has been overestimated. You only need a few days. So I'm going to shorten that one down, create another link. And again, this one here, I'm going to move out to the same point and say, actually, this needs to start at the same time. So again, it's a really nice visual way in which to edit your plans. And really anyone with minimal amount of training can actually start using this in a very short period of time. So that was the view for the, I guess, the average user, the team members, maybe project managers as well. Whereas if you're a power user, which most project managers and even people in PMOs will be, then obviously they will need a bit more power, a bit more functionality available to them. So this is where I'm going to go into the accelerator app that we have built using Microsoft Power Apps. And again, I'm very conscious of the time and I would like to squeeze in some questions at the end. So what I'll do is I'll keep this part pretty brief and demonstrate some of the core concepts here. And we'll get onto a bit of Q&A a bit later. So when I first go into Power Apps, the first thing that I see is this dashboard on the homepage. So these are some standard Power Apps charts showing me the overall health of the portfolio, or really whatever information I want to display. So these are, again, standard native Power Apps charts, but I can drop in Power BI and reports if I want instead. Looking at the menu down the left-hand side, we've also got access to things like the pipeline. We can go and access the programs, look at the projects. I can even go in, have a look at my basic resource pool. I can access reporting. All of my RAID logs are available, as well as all of my other management artifacts. Things like lessons learned logs, benefits trackers, change logs, all of that information available in one place. What I'll do is go into my project list, and I'll get rid of that menu. And in the project list, I see a list of all of my active projects. You can go in, create different views as well. I'm going to leave that as is, but I will demonstrate the fact that you can also then apply custom groupings. So if I perhaps want to group everything by project type, I can do that quite easily. I might want to group by where they are in terms of stage, by overall KPI, by location, by clients, by sponsor. You can pretty much slice and dice the information however you want. What I'll do is, though, is go into a project that's already in flight. So that's this COVID-19 track and trace project, which I'm sure we've all had enough of by now. But if I go into that, into the drill down view, this is the project. So lots of things to talk about on this particular page. So this is the summary tab. We can see the overall life cycle the project's following. But to link this back to the plan that I demonstrated earlier, or something like that, let me click into the task tab and show you that in the heart of this, or at the heart of this, is a plan. So there's the plan. That's the grid view, the board view, the timeline view. They're all available and it's all live. So I can edit this if I want to within this particular window. But going back to the summary, I'll talk about the form in just a moment, but to demonstrate this workflow, you will see that it's interactive. So if I click into one of these stage gates, you can see that there is a checklist for us to complete as we progress through. And this is all bespoke. And the other thing that's really nice about this is that it's dynamic. So depending on the project type you select, depending on maybe the complexity that you've selected, the life cycle can change dynamically on the fly. So if you're working on a very complex project, yeah, you have to go through the full life cycle, all of the governance processes. Whereas if it's a very light project, you might even remove workflow altogether. But again, that's bespoke and customizable. Not only can the workflow change on the fly, so can the form. So again, depending on the project type you select, the remainder of the form can update to accommodate that particular template. So it's really quite clever. And these forms themselves, they are bespoke. So you collect whatever information you want to collect. We've got some other chart elements here that bring in information from the schedule, which is why it's all kind of locked down, because this is live data coming in from the plan. You can see things like percentage complete, amount of effort remaining, and so forth. And here we've also got some status reports that are being fed in over here, but they're being displayed here on the home page, on the summary page. We've also got the ability to feed in business cases. So you can provide narrative, you can provide scoring. That gives you a prioritization score. And each one of these drivers can feature different weightings as well. So one driver might hold more weight run another driver, which is quite good. You can track things like financials. You've got your resources there as well. You're conscious of the time. So I'm going to skip all of those and go straight to risks. And by the way, a lot of the logs do look very similar to what I'm presenting now. So I won't go through all of them. But what I will do is drill down into this existing risk to show you the form that's been completed. Let's try that again. So this is going to open up the form. And these again are configurable, but this is the start of a 10 that we provide. So you capture some general detail around the risk. This is where you complete your risk assessment. So in this example, you've got to type things in, but we can put in, touchscreen friendly elements like sliding scales instead of this. Here we're capturing some narrative around the risk response. But again, this is the start of a 10. We can configure and customize. Going back, again, I'm not going to go into the other tabs, but what I am going to do, whoops, sorry, I'm going to minimize that slightly and go into Teams. I suspect many of you are now using Teams. So one of the great things about this is the fact that you can, when you've set up your groups, which we did earlier, you can then access these different channels. So within Teams, you've got your post channel, which is where you can have ongoing conversations about the project as a whole. You've got a centrally stored files area that's underpinned by SharePoint. So within that, you've got things like versioning control, document templates, document workflows in place. You can also embed your plans directly within Teams itself. So this is a live project. I can, again, access all of the different views. I can also go in and edit this on the fly. And this will then update anywhere where the project's being used, which is really, really quite handy. And in fact, something else that I can even do is, have I got to set up? Yeah. So the Power Apps application that I showed you earlier, the Accelerator Plus, even that can be fully embedded within Teams. And a lot of people that I know now do tend to work exclusively in Teams, because within Teams, you've got access to your chat windows. You can go and access your teams, work on your projects, and do anything else you might want to do. So really, really quite handy. Sorry, there's a little toolbar at the top that's preventing me from seeing all of the different tabs, which is why I'm jumping around slightly. But going into the reporting set itself, again, purely because of time constraints, I won't go through all of these reports, but Power BI is a enterprise grade reporting solution from Microsoft. At the moment, we are only bringing in data from Project for the Web, but you can really consolidate data from multiple solutions that you might be using across the organization and then provide a joined up view. So a common example of that would be that project teams want to present project data, finance teams want to then stitch that together with financial data, and rather than doing some kind of manual copying and pasting or some kind of complex integration between the two applications, in Power BI, we can basically bring both data sources in and provide everyone with a single view of what's going on. So you can see there's a suite of 19 different reports, so quite a few. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but I am going to present one or two and show you the types of views you can get. So this one, looking very much at risks, we've got portfolio milestone reports. So we can see which ones are due, which ones are overdue, which ones are coming up next. And we've also got really nice reports like the portfolio timeline, which shows you when individual projects are taking place, when they start, when they finish. And we can also see things like percentage complete, which again is quite handy. So that was the whirlwind demo. I'm just going to present my slide deck again and talk briefly about next steps. So in terms of next steps, we've got a few options available. So first of all, if you wanted a bespoke demo, if you want to invite colleagues along to see the solution, maybe in the context of what you're doing specifically, then all you need to do is get in touch using the details coming up, and I would be more than happy to set up that bespoke demo. Something that we can also provide, so if you as an organization are looking to deploy a PPM tool and you would like to have a envisioning workshop to understand what an implementation might look like. We can obviously get a better understanding of what your objectives are. And between us, we can also then map out a implementation roadmap at a high level. We can provide that workshop for free. So it won't cost you anything to run through that exercise. And for anything else, just please get in touch. And you can get in touch using these details here. So that's my work email address. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn by following that URL. But if you've got LinkedIn installed on your iPhone, your Android device, then all you need to do is open up LinkedIn, the LinkedIn app on your phone, scan the QR code, and that'll take you straight to my profile. We can also be followed by going to our web address, wellington.co.uk. You can also follow us on LinkedIn as well, where we do share lots of regular content. Future PMO is an event that I talked about earlier. That, again, taking place on Thursday this week. We do have a limited number of tickets remaining. So if you want more details on that, please go to that URL, futurepmo.com. So that's the end of this presentation. So happy to take questions if there are any at this stage, or again, later on, I will be joining the wider session. So yes, back over to you.
Thank you, Baz. That's really fascinating. Quick question that has come in is looking at the enterprise as a whole, organization, using Power Apps, would the whole organization need to have direct access to the software in order to work effectively? Or could this be limited, for example, to a PMO with project teams sharing access via the PMO?
Yeah, it can work in that scenario. One of the other things that Microsoft have done a great job on is licensing as a whole. So the data that you see from Project for the Web is actually available as a read-only view by anyone in the organization that's got Office 365. So if you wanted people to go in, look at specific project data linked to the plan, anybody can access it. But in most organizations, there is a critical mass of users, let's say the PMO, that have got all of the licensing. They're doing all the heavy lifting and shifting, and they might even export reports out from Power BI to give a wider organization visibility of what's going on. So in terms of licensing, how you could control read-write access, there's lots of options.
Thanks, Baz. And perhaps a final question I'd like to put to you. You mentioned that this is only a stage in the evolution of the digital tools and that there are exciting things happening over the next year or so. Given that we are talking in our conference about the project team in the future, could you just give us a sort of headline of what kind of new capabilities we might expect to see?
Yeah, I can. I'm just trying to remember what I'm allowed to tell you, what I'm not. We've got a signed NDA with Microsoft, but things that have been publicly announced are things like the ability to baseline the plans. So it's a standard feature in Microsoft Project Desktop. This solution's been out for a year and a half and it's not been available. So that's a big thing that's coming. The ability to baseline critical path I've already talked about. Task conversations is coming. There are some inbuilt charts that will be available within Project for the Web that will be quite nice. Users are also getting access to their own My Assignment views. So that's probably as much as I can say for now. But what I would say is that by going with something like Project for the Web, you'll find that most requirements are already covered, and most requirements that maybe aren't covered, there will be workarounds. But by investing in Project for the Web, you are going for a very much a future-proof solution that's built on the latest platform that Microsoft have, the Dataverse. Which is where Teams is based. It's what the Dynamics ERP solution is built on as well. So you are buying into a future-proof solution, and lots of organizations. Sorry, is that okay?
I think we're probably going to have to close off now.
No problem.
Thank you so much for your contribution to the conference. It's really much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to everyone that's tuned in. Much appreciated. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Baz. I'd now like to turn to introduce our next speaker, Catherine.